You're right on time for Hope TV Newswatch on this 5th day of April 2022. A very good evening to you and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Kennedy Kimani and Elizabeth Wanjiku will be assisting with the sign language interpretation. Now, ODM National Chairman John Mbadi has maintained that the youth involved in the incident where Azimio la Umoja movement presidential aspirant Raila Odinga's chopper was hit by stones are professionally trained to cause chaos. Suna East MP Junet Mohammed and Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, in the company of Mbadi, appeared before detectives at the DCI headquarters in Nairobi to record statements on what they know about the attack against Odinga last weekend.
Suna East MP Junet Mohammed and Embakasi East MP Babu Owino presented themselves at DCI headquarters on Tuesday after a summoning by the head of investigations at DCI, John Gashomo, in connection to the incident where ODM leader Raila Odinga's chopper was pelted with stones in Uasin Gishu County. The two recorded their statements as witnesses to the said incident, which happened as Raila was about to fly out of the funeral service of businessman Jackson Kibor. Suba South Member of Parliament John Mbadi, who accompanied the two, called on the government to dig deeper into the probe of the attack on ODM leader Raila Odinga and his entourage, claiming that the youth involved in the attack were professionally trained. Mbadi opined that the matter should not be casually taken, as it will have cost lives if authorities are not intervened.
They appear to me like youth who have received some drills on security issues and on paramilitary matters. So this matter should not be taken casually. Our colleagues almost lost their lives. If you listen to what they are saying, what they witnessed, this is something we cannot accept. And this kind of intolerance, I know it is coming about because of frustration. When you see yourself losing an election that you thought a few months or years ago that you'd win, I know you clearly it causes concern and disquiet, embarrassment, frustration in your camp.
On his part, Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed said they have recorded a statement of over 10 pages on what transpired during the attack, calling on authorities to expedite the conclusion of the matter.
Those leaders who have, brought those organized gangs, those organized criminal gangs, I don't know what they are thinking about in their minds, because how can you attempt to take the life of somebody like His Excellency Prime Minister? I know he's mortal, his time will come, but not in that manner, in that form, not politically orchestrated like that, in that form. So we want to condemn. We have shared with the police what we know. We gave them a statement of almost 10 pages. What happened that day, when we arrived there, what happened, how we were almost being killed there. We have shared with them, and we hope they will take necessary action.
Siasa ya vita na ghasia sio siasa. Kwa hivyo hii ni kilio, niombe inayotoka kutoka kwa party leader wetu mwenyewe, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Tunataka amani katika Kenya hii.
17 suspects remain in police custody after Eldoret Senior Resident Magistrate Emily Kigen on Monday granted police 7 days to continue holding them pending the conclusion of investigations. Grace Wangoi for Hope TV Newswatch.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has told the Parliamentary Committee on Administration and National Security that the stoning of Azimio presidential aspirant Raila Odinga's chopper in Soy constituency Uasin Gishu County was pre-planned. CS Matiang'i says they have arrested suspects with a lot of money in 50 shillings notes, which reiterates that there must have been some choreography behind that, because it's not coincidental that the suspects had so much money in the same denominations, and some of them were distributing it around that particular time. Matiang'i appeared before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security to shed some light on the matter as investigations continue.
It is emerging from the evidence that we have collected, and the evidence that was collected on that night, that was actually a premeditated act. It was planned, because the suspects who were arrested with hoards of thousands of shillings broken down in 50 shilling notes, and they have taken statements. Clearly there must have been some choreography behind that, because it's not coincidental that these suspects had so much money broken in 50 shilling notes, and some of them who are distributing this money around that particular time. The police have acted swiftly and decisively. We have 17 suspects whom we have taken to court. Investigations are going on, and we are still exploiting forensically some of the evidence we have, including phone numbers of the suspects and several other things that the DCI is doing that I would not like to discuss in an open meeting. We will go the direction investigations will point us.
Now, a group of women led by the Nairobi Women Representative Esther Passaris has staged demonstrations in Nairobi condemning the attack on Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga in Soy constituency on Friday. Donned in blue outfits, the women waved Achana na Baba placards, at the same time condemned the attack as barbaric and an affront to peace in the country.
We are doing a peaceful protest against what happened to our presidential candidate, Raila Amolo Odinga, the 5th president of Kenya, in Iten. Very unfortunate incident where stones were thrown at his chopper. And the reason why we are here, we have come with flowers, white flowers, symbolically to state that we are giving flowers and not stones. And what we want to encourage our members of parliament, members of Senate, because those are our leaders, that they should not be part of the people who are organizing young people out there to be the ones that are throwing stones.
The handshake between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga is one that wants to ensure that we have peaceful elections. We take this country as one nation, one Kenya, one love. When Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta came up with the handshake, it was because they realized that Kenya has to be one. Azimio la Umoja is all about uniting Kenya and making us one nation so that we can actually come up with the economic revolution that Baba talks about. What happened to Baba was very, very frightening. It was also very, very sad for this country and also dangerous. You know, Uhuru Kenyatta himself said it this weekend. What if something had happened to Raila? We don't want this country to burn. Raila Amolo Odinga is the father of this nation. All right, he's our Mandela. He's the one that will give us a Mandela moment if he wins when he wins this election.
Moving on, just a day after President Uhuru Kenyatta signed into law the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Bill and allocated a sum of 34.44 billion shillings to be released to oil marketers as fuel subsidy. The pinch is still being felt by motorists as long queues are still being witnessed in petrol stations countrywide. This is despite the Kenya Pipeline Company having said that there is enough fuel in the country. Motorists have expressed frustrations after most petrol station operators say they had run out of fuel for more than a week now, with Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua now demanding for the resignation of Petroleum Cabinet Secretary.
Hata hakuna kazi saizi. Pikipiki zetu ni za loan. Nataka tuangalie kabisa. You find that the landed cost, for example, of super is 164 and the pump price is supposed to be 135. So you see that difference normally the government ndio wao wanalipa. So shippers tu wanatakanga assurance that they'll be paid. If the government can be assuring them, I believe by now there will be no shortage because products are there in pipeline.
The problem emanates from the issue of mismatch of prices. Mismatch here meaning the landed cost of the product vis-a-vis the recommended price. Because of course I'm sure you understand that the prices are regulated by the government, that is the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. So that mismatch and uncertainty by shippers as to whether they'll be compensated through the price stabilization or rather subsidy program is what the uncertainty is what is causing all these confusion in the industry. And if at all the wholesalers who are the shippers can be given assurance that in the next pricing cycle, which is on 14th, they'll be compensated, I'm sure the wholesalers can comfortably release the prices to the market.
There are a lot of excuses around where we find ourselves today. But I still want to say, in countries that profess democracy, and in countries where leaders truly care about the well-being of their citizens, today what should have happened by now is that the minister responsible for petroleum should have resigned and gone home, or provided Kenyans with a solution to this crisis. Because this matter, Madam Speaker, is not getting any easier by the day. The crisis is
Meanwhile, a Nyeri town walked the third day of pain and anguish for motorists and commuters after leading fuel stations ran out of fuel owing to the ongoing fuel crunch currently ravaging the country. A spot check at the various fuel stations within the Nyeri town revealed the majority had minimal activities after having exhausted their remaining fuel reserves by yesterday. The majority of the motorists complained about the long hours they have spent while hopping from one filling station to another in search of the precious commodity.
The search for a presidential running mate in the Azimio la Umoja.
Tuko na shida sababu ya hii mafuta. Unapata uko na pesa lakini huwezi ukafuel sababu kuna hiyo shortage tunasikia iko the whole country. Yenye hatuelewi ni kwa nini ikuwe shortage. Ila hali hata kama ni unga hata kama iko na bei kali bado tunaipata. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali hata kama kuna shida at least wajaribu kutatua tupate mafuta.
Tuko na shida mingi sana. Kutoka jana jana nimekuja hapa Toto kutoka saa 10. Tukaambiwa mafuta itamwagwa 6. Nikikuja 6 tunaambiwa ni saa 2. Saa hii mimi hata sijakula. Niko na kama makoti 4. Na najaribu kutokea ni kule kitu. Nikaona nikitoka kwa line. Hii chinda yote unaona. Hata tumechagua na hii chinda yote paka ya chakula hata sijui namna gani.
Na mimi ni msaji wa soda na tukutuku. Sasa mimi hata saa hii sijapata mafuta ya gari. Saa hii hata nashindwa jioni nitafanya nini namna gani.
We do apologize for that mix-up of stories. Now, moving on, Wiper Democratic Movement Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka says he's going for nothing less than the deputy president position in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Coalition political party. Kalonzo made the announcement when he unveiled the Wiper Party Persons with Disabilities League, chaired by Dominic Keter at the party headquarters ahead of the nominations, which kick off on April 13th. Dickens Luvanda now reports.
The search for a presidential running mate in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Coalition Party could be over if what Kalonzo Musyoka said will be implemented.
As usual, we will set the example, believe you me.
Kalonzo says he is not looking for anything less than deputizing Raila Odinga in the August 9th presidential election, this likely being the third time.
To me, I know is the second in command in the next government.
And if I honestly stood and said Raila Amolo Odinga Tosha, anybody else can, including Ruto. So I invite them to see the real change. So don't worry about who becomes what and what. We are moving. Fugufugu la Umoja. One Kenya.
The Wiper leader had last month suggested that he will only give up the running mate slot in Azimio if Wiper is allocated at least a third of the government.
We don't discuss the obvious.
Kalonzo, who publicly declared his support for Odinga's State House race, was responding to questions from the journalists at the party headquarters on Tuesday, a move that complicates Azimio's power-sharing deal with the larger Mount Kenya region, which wants the number 2 slot.
I've always embraced the principle of consultation. Consultation. So that if we talk about three-legged stool, we had to discuss it here. And that is why none of the Wiper members of parliament went through the window. Like happened in some of these cases. Some leaders decided to join Kenya Kwisha and they went alone. I therefore must congratulate the Wiper members of parliament for standing solidly with this party. I think we have beaten the group, all of them.
Kalonzo made the statement when he led the party officials in launching the People Living with Disabilities League at the current headquarters, where he said that the Wiper movement is anchored on the premise and belief that equal opportunity, especially at the leadership level, will translate to a better and more prosperous nation.
We are the first, as Chairman Dominic Ketera said, we probably are the first, not just in Kenya, but in East and Central Africa. So we need to give ourselves a big clap. And we are going to make sure that in the next government, persons with disability will get a higher positioning in this country.
The Wiper Party announced a plan to start party primaries on April 13th to 20th, with Kalonzo saying all candidates must earn their tickets.
This time, as a party, we are actually saying, If you want to be nominated, you have to earn it.
Yes.
You just don't sit there and reap from the sweat of others. Everybody must earn their nomination. And even as we do so, we'll be able to look at, say, Nairobi. If we all run in Nairobi, Jubilee runs a gubernatorial candidate, Wiper runs one, ODM runs one. You can imagine the outcome. And Kanu runs one or whatever. You might give advantage to somebody else. So we're going to look into all this and say in terms of Nairobi, the coalition political party will have to agree on one single candidate and running mate. Say for Nairobi, for Nakuru, imagine for Mombasa.
Deacon Sulvanda, Hope TV Newswatch.
Thank you so much, Deacons, for that report. Now, we are now taking a short commercial break, but we'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Can politics be clean?
Tunawatakia baraka nyingi.
Lakini tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 kura.
She is known and talked about widely. Sabina Chege.
Jitayarisha. Mumejitayarisha. Hebu nione kwa
Murang'a women representative. Meet Sabina Chege tomorrow night on Spotlight at 7:30 p.m. exclusively on Hope TV.
The Bible is unchanging and timeless, and its words are relevant for every generation. Join Dr. David Jeremiah each week on Turning Point as he delivers the unchanging Word of God to an ever-changing world. With his sincere, straightforward teaching style, David Jeremiah provides a rich study of Scripture from which you can find spiritual strength, encouragement, and guidance for today's world. Join Dr. Jeremiah every week on Turning Point, right here on this station.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the Council of Governors has once again asked the National Treasury to expedite the release of 87.34 billion shillings for the months of January, February, March and April without further delay to enable county governments to deliver services to Kenyans. The Council held a meeting in accordance with the Intergovernmental Relations Act 2021 to discuss pertinent issues affecting county governments, including disbursement of equitable share of revenue for the financial year 2021-2022 and drought situation in the country. The governor's plea comes just 2 days to the reading of the 2022-2023 budget in the National Assembly.
With only 2 months to the end of the financial year 2021-2022 and 2 days to the reading of the 2022-2023 budget, the Council of Governors have come out to decry delay in disbursement of funds by the Ministry of Treasury. The governors have decried that of the 370 billion shillings allocated as shareable revenue for all counties for the financial year 2021-2022, only 221 billion shillings has been disbursed so far, causing a delay in projects in counties. Led by COG Vice Chair James Ongwae, the COG urged all presidential candidates to join the Council of Governors in advocating for timely disbursement of funds to counties and to make commitments on the same ahead of the August 2022 elections.
While Kenyans continue to demand for services from county governments, operations at the national government remains uninterrupted while county services are paralyzed and nearly grinding to a halt. We call upon the National Treasury to expedite the release of these funds to county governments without further delay, due to which the Council will seek legal redress to resolve the current delay in disbursement of funds to counties. We urge all presidential candidates to join the Council of Governors in advocating for timely disbursement of funds to counties and to make comments on the same ahead of the August 22 election.
Part of the matters also discussed during the Council of Governors full council meeting, attended both physically and virtually, was the matter of the rejected proposal to increase shareable revenue by 381.45 billion.
The proposal was 390. Of course, we had proposed more than that.
But the argument was that being an election year, most of the money will go towards the election. So we accept the 370 and we are hopeful that there will be change in government, a peaceful change in government. Whichever government comes in, Council of Governance is ready to engage with that particular government, and if there is an increase, it can be factored in.
We accept the realities on the ground. We also are part and parcel of this country. So there is sometimes when you give in and accept the realities.
The drought situation in the country continues to worsen, with the Met Department indicating that the country may not receive as much rainfall as was expected this month, with the COG calling on the national government to increase allocation to cushion counties already facing severe food and water shortage.
On behalf of the northern Kenyan counties, we continue to appeal to national governments to enhance interventions geared towards mitigating the effects of the current drought. We also continue to appeal to international community, particularly the ones involved in humanitarian undertakings, to come in because we have a looming disaster, and now that the rains for April, the onset has delayed, things are bound to worsen.
This is unfortunate for a country like ours. I think the national government should take this issue very seriously. As I think what I saw, the county governments have no capacity to intervene in terms of, because of the money, that the meager money that they receive, the allocation cannot deal with that particular situation.
Grace Wangoi, FOB TV Newswatch.
Moving on, more than 1,800 families living on land earmarked for the proposed Malindi International Airport expansion have asked the government to speed up the compensation of their property. The families have threatened to carry out new developments on the land and give the government new terms of engagement if the state does not compensate and enable them to vacate the land the Kenya Airports Authority is seeking for the extension of the facility's main runway. The squatters say despite the Kenya Airports Authority carrying out property valuation more than 2 years ago, the government had remained mum on when the families will be compensated in order to look for alternative land to build new homes.
Tumengojea muda mrefu sana mambo haya ya airport. Tumeambiwa kwamba tutalipwa karibuni, kila siku tunaahidiwa kwamba tutalipwa hivi karibuni, na kila uchao tunaahidiwa kwamba tutalipwa hivi karibuni. Na wanasema tusijenge na tusifanye maendeleo yote katika maeneo haya ambayo tunaishi. Maisha yamekuwa magumu sana. Sasa hivi leo tumeitana mahali hapa ni kwa sababu nieleze ya kwamba kamati imesukuma jambo hili la kulipa ama tulipwe kwa muda mrefu sana. Hakuna mlango ambao sisi hatujagonga ambao unahusiana na mambo ya malipo ya airport.
Naomba Bwana Uhuru na Raila na Ruto, tumeteseka muda mrefu, ulituahidi kuwa utatulipa kwa sababu ya huu uwanja wa ndege. Miaka inazidi kuenda, biashara zimekufa. Kila kukicha tunateseka, kwa siku tunakula mara moja. Shule tunadaiwa, hivi tushamaka shule zikifunguliwa. Malipo hatulipwi, kujenga hatujengi, ni kuteseka moja kwa mbili.
Airport mtupatie pesa zetu kwa haraka ama sisi tutajenga vile tunavyotaka kujenga. Kwa sababu leo hatutakuwa sisi ni wanyonge, hatutakuwa sisi ni manyonge katika ardhi zetu. Tunakuwa sisi ni mayatima katika ardhi zetu za hapa Feruzi na kwingine. Tumechoka. Tunaomba serikali, hakuna kuwalazimia, lazima mtupatie haki zetu kwa wakati tunataka sisi.
Now, aspirants in Kilifi County vying for various political seats through the Pamoja African Alliance Party have urged the party head to ensure primaries are free and fair. With the political heat intensifying in the Power Party as members position themselves to win tickets during nominations, the aspirants are now urging the party leader, Governor Amason Kingi, to ensure a level ground during nominations. Power will field candidates in all elective seats except in the presidential race.
Tumejipanga, tuko tayari na mchujo, na hata August 9th tutachukua almost 80% of the total MCAs ndani ya Kilifi South. Nasema hivyo kwa sababu gani? hizi nguvu ambazo ziko hapa kuna serving MCAs, kuna nominated MCAs, kuna wale aspiring MCAs. Na for the first time ndani ya Kilifi hapa watu walikuwa wanasema ni ngome ya ODM. Na hawa wote walikuwa huko na wakapita ndani ya chama cha ODM kikiwa kimetoka kule. Na sasa hivi huyu ni mtoto wetu ambao amezaliwa hapa, ingawaje ni chama cha kitaifa. Ni nini kitatufanya sisi tusicollect 100% ndani ya Kilifi? Na hiyo ndio nguvu ambayo ninayo, kwa sababu ninajua kwamba kama ni mikakati tuko navyo, tumejipanga, tuko kwa ground almost every day.
Na tumekubaliana tutafanya kazi pamoja. Tutashirikiana kama wanachama wa PAA. Na hata tukipitwa hata tukiwa tumemaliza kwenye primaries, wale ambao watakuwa hawakufaulu kwenye primaries, tumekubaliana hatutawaachia mkono, tutashikana nao, tutatembea pamoja kama watu wa jamii moja ya PAA. Nashukuru sana wale party leaders wetu kwa kuweza kutuita na kutuhakikishia kwa tutafanya kazi na kutakuwa na demokrasi katika uchaguzi wa PAA.
And on to some international news. 1 week after gunmen attacked a train with explosives in northwestern Nigeria, the whereabouts of 168 passengers are still unknown, according to the Nigerian Railway Corporation. At least 8 people were killed and others missing on the 28th of March when gunmen detonated a bomb on the track and opened fire on the train linking the capital Abuja with the northwestern city of Kaduna. President Muhammadu Buhari had said some passengers had been kidnapped, and survivors said gunmen had snatched a number of passengers, but it is not clear how many. It was the latest deadly assault blamed on heavily armed criminal gangs known locally as bandits in the region. Now, South Africa has announced the ending of COVID restrictions 2 years after they were imposed. In a televised address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the national state of disaster will end at midnight on Monday. Masks will still be required indoors for another month. He said although the pandemic was not over, he was confident that there were only better times ahead. President Ramaphosa said it was important to boost the economy and create jobs. South Africa has recorded far more coronavirus cases than any other African country, accounting for almost a third of infections across the continent. It has officially registered over 100,000 deaths. And the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the images and information out of Bucha show further evidence that Russia has committed war crimes and that the White House plans to announce new sanctions. On the other hand, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has set out a proposal for new sanctions targeting Russia's economy. In a statement, she accused Moscow of waging a cruel and ruthless war and said it is alleged atrocities in Ukraine cannot and will not be left unanswered. At the same time, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned that the worst atrocities committed by Russian troops departing from the north of the country are yet to be discovered.
The images that we see are tragic, they're shocking, but unfortunately, they're not surprising. We released information even before Russia's invasion, showing that Russia would engage in acts of brutality against civilians, including targeted killings of dissidents and others they deemed a threat to their occupation. And as the horrific images that have emerged from Bucha have shown, that's exactly what they have done. We had already concluded that Russia committed war crimes in Ukraine, and the information from Bucha appears to show further evidence of war crimes. And as the President said, we will work with the world to ensure there is full accountability for these crimes. We are also working intensively with our European allies on further sanctions to raise the pressure and raise the cost on Putin and on Russia. You can expect further sanctions announcements this week, and we are coordinating with our allies and partners on what the exact parameters of that will be. But yes, this week we will have additional economic pressure elements to announce.
We are now taking another commercial break, but don't go too far. We'll be back with the business news and all you need to know in the world of sports.
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship. Only on Extended Worship.
Hope TV is now available on GoTV Channel 103, Zuku Channel 873, Signet Channel 817 and StarTimes Channel 026. Enjoy our uplifting content and family-friendly programming anytime. Hope TV, you look and live.
And now let's get down to business. A few days after the government set aside 5.73 billion shillings to subsidize fertilizer prices countrywide, ANC party leader and Kenya Kwanza Corp principal Musalia Mudavadi has asked the Ministry of Agriculture not to discriminate against small-scale farmers when issuing fertilizers. The fertilizer subsidy seeks to ensure efficient delivery and control mechanisms are in place.
Mimi nataka niwaambie, apart from being Minister for Finance, nimewahi kuwa waziri wa kilimo. Population yetu ya Kenya wanakula mahindi karibu milioni 36 kila mwaka. Kwa hivyo hata kama ni cereal board, they normally have capacity ya kununua kama milioni 6 peke yake. Hizi 30 million zinakulwa na Wakenya na zinakuzwa na wakulima kule nje. Sasa wewe unaambia watu fertilizer will only be for registered farmers. Yule mama wako kutoka Kuisero ambaye ni small scale farmer hapa Kuisero, mwingine anatoka Butere, mwingine anatoka Likuyani, mwingine anatoka Bungoma, ambaye yeye anakuza mahindi ili alishe familia yake na relatives wake, extended family. Yeye kazi yake si kuuza mahindi kwa cereal board, lakini ni lazima akuze mahindi watu wapate chakula. Sasa nataka utuambie kwamba huyo mama kutoka Tongaren hahitaji fertilizer kwa sababu yeye si registered na NCPB? Bure kabisa.
Moving on, Stanbic Bank Kenya and the Africa Guarantee Fund for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises have signed a loan portfolio guarantee facility to increase financing for small and medium enterprises across the country. The portfolio guarantee facility of 1 billion shillings will allow Stanbic Bank Kenya to expand their lending capacity and coverage to SMEs. The partnership agreement between Stanbic Bank and African Guarantee Fund targets women-owned businesses as well as those in the sustainable energy sector.
For us, this is a key instrument that will enable us to be more relevant to the SMEs because it will provide us with an instrument that will help us to mitigate risk or reduce risk. And what this will help us to do is to be able to tap into higher risk SMEs, which you find most banks struggle to basically finance. So Stanbic Bank has been supporting SMEs, and more importantly, during the COVID period, the last 2 years, we've heightened our support for the SMEs because we do realize that the Kenyan economy is largely driven by SMEs.
This in line with our commitment to reduce the $42 billion gender financing gap facing women entrepreneurs in Africa through the affirmative finance action for women in Africa. It is an initiative that we are implementing in partnership with the African Development Bank. So supporting climate-focused businesses, on the other hand, contribute to sustainable development through mitigation of the impacts of climate change.
And now to some sport in action. Siaya junior boxing teams are appealing for support, with fear that they may not make it to the National Junior Championships unless well wishes come to their aid. According to their head coach Joseph Otieno, the 10 junior boxers who have been training for the event that is scheduled to take place between the 14th and 15th of April this year require transport and accommodation while in Nairobi, which is the venue of the championship.
Tunajiprepare ili tuende Nairobi, tupeleke juniors Nairobi kwa mchezo ya boxing National Junior Championship ambayo itafanywa hapo Charter Hall kuanzia tarehe 14 mpaka tarehe 16. Na niko na juniors hapa vijana wa 10 ambapo najua wakifika City Hall wataonyesha mavumbi huko. Kuna maclubs za Nairobi, itakuwa ni counties nyingi, tutakutania huko. Last time tulikutana Jericho na tukatoka namba 2 baada ya kuwa na 18 counties ambazo walicheza huko Jericho. Lakini round hii tunaenda kupambana na Nairobi hapa na hapa, timu ya Siaya. Na katika hii hali ya kwenda huko, shida huwa inapatikana tu moja tu ya transport. Kwenda na mahali pa kwenda kulalia, accommodation, kitu kama hiyo. Na pia tunaomba usaidizi raundi hii.
Now, Arsenal's aspirations of finishing top 4 in the Premier League this season were dealt a blow on Monday night as they suffered a 3-0 defeat against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Goals from Jay Matete in the 16th minute and Jordan Ayew in the 24th minute put the host Crystal Palace ahead 2-0. Just before halftime, the situation became worse at the second half as Wilfred Zaha put the game to bed with a penalty. Arsenal are now just sitting 5th, level on 54 points with Spurs and 3 points ahead of West Ham United and Manchester United. And finally, the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals kick off tonight with Manchester City facing Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid in the first leg of the competition. The citizens are competing in the last 8 of Europe's most prestigious club competition for the 5th successful season after beating Sporting Lisbon 5-0 on aggregate in the last 16. In the other fixtures slated for tonight, Liverpool will take on Benfica. On Wednesday, reigning champions Chelsea host Real Madrid and Villarreal take on Bayern Munich ahead of the second legs next week. And on that note, we come to the end of our news tonight. Many thanks to you for your valid company. On behalf of the whole team that made this bulletin a success, have yourselves a good night. My name is Kennedy Kimani and Elizabeth Wanjiku has been the sign language interpreter.